I'm here today at Bnai Yeshurun Congregation in Teaneck, headed by Rabbi Elliot Schreier. Rabbi Schreier is new to the congregation, but is already making his mark. Very popular speaker, Talmud Chacham, young, up-and-coming, wonderful rabbi, and it's a pleasure to be here today for the Transformative Daf.
Tonight we have the zchus and privilege to have with us as a guest speaker Rabbi Daniel Friedman, who has received smicha yadin from Rav Gedalia Dov Shor Zatzal, Av Bezin of Besdin of America. He has served communities in the U.S., Canada, Australia, and the U.K. His articles have appeared in the Journal of Halacha and Contemporary Society, YU London, the Jewish Press, the Jerusalem Post, H.com, and numerous other outlets. He was the inaugural chair of the National Holocaust Monument of Canada and is a world-renowned expert on the intersection of halacha and international relations. Most recently, he is the author of the Transformative Daf, a sefer that takes the lessons of the Daf and demonstrating the real-life transformational power. B'chavod, Rabbi Friedman.
Thank you, Reb Chaim, and thank you, Rabbi Schreier, in absentia. Tonight we begin Rosh Chodesh Adar. Good Chodesh, everybody. So let's begin with a classic. Back in the Haim, there were two young ladies waiting for their suitors who were yeshiva bachrim, coming along on the train. Unfortunately, on the way, the Cossacks attack the train, and only one of the young men makes it out alive. He makes it to the town, and each of the families is fighting over who is going to be the chassan for their daughter. They go to the Rav, they say, Rav, you need to sort this out. The Rav pores over his Sfarim. He finally comes up with the wisdom of Shlomo Melech, and he says, we're going to have to cut the young man in half. One of the mothers of the girl says, no, you can't do that. Forget about it. The other one says, yes, cut him in half. The Rav says, that's the mother-in-law. Says the Gemara, tonight we are on Daf Chaf of Moed Katan. The Gemara says, Mar Ukva shchiv le bar chamua. Mar Ukva, his brother-in-law, died. Sava lamesav ale shiva or shloshim. So he thought, I'm going to sit shiva and shloshim for my brother-in-law. Al Rav Huna legabe. Rav Huna came up to him. Ashkeche, he found him. Amalei said to him, Tzidnyasa bois lemechal. You want to eat the Sudas Havra? You want to eat the meal of consolation? Sefelt epis? Why do you need to mourn? It's your brother-in-law. The only respect that is required is for one's father-in-law and mother-in-law. Tanya, for we learned, one whose father-in-law or mother-in-law died, you cannot force your wife to apply her makeup. Rather, you turn over your bed and you observe the laws of mourning along with her. Similarly, if she had her father-in-law or mother-in-law die, in other words, the husband's father or mother, she shouldn't apply her makeup. Rather, she turns over her bed and she too observes the mourning rituals. Now, as I say, today's daf, very straightforward in terms of not only kibbud av ha'em, honoring our parents, but we see you have to honor your in-laws as well. The Torah tells us that this practice of observing the Avelus along with one's spouse no longer is the minhag. However, the Taz adds that despite the fact that we don't have a minhag in terms of kavod after the death, we certainly have a minhag of kavod during one's lifetime. It's a kal v'chomer. If we are to respect our in-laws after their decease, how much more so should we be respecting them during their lifetimes? You tell me, well, I didn't marry them. I married her. I married him. No. The word chassan doesn't just mean a groom. The same word groom, chassan, also means a son-in-law. The same word kala, meaning a bride, also means a daughter-in-law. Ever thought about that? The word machatanim doesn't exist in English. Right? There's a relationship here that exists that we now have to have that respect that's bound by halacha. Who was the greatest example of that, of course? We had it just in last week's parasha. We can change ago. Moshe Rabbeinu for Yisro. Yalkut Shimoni says, when we see in the parasha, Moshe Rabbeinu coming along and kissing Yisro. All right, we're coming off hopefully the back of the pandemic, please God now. We don't know whether to shake or hug or kiss. Well, I'm not a hugger. Yalkut Shimoni says something unbelievable. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't much of a kisser. But for his father-in-law Yisro, he wanted to give him a mark of kavod and he gave him a kiss. Ever wondered where the word in-law comes from? It's from last week's parsha. Yisro added a parsha into the law, Moshe's father-in-law, and that became Yisro, the in-law. That was Yisro. But here, let me end off with one final idea. Our commentaries aren't quite sure when Yisro leaves the Bnei Yisrael. Was it in the parsha? Is it in Baal Loischa, where he has those parting comments? It's unclear. So my message to you, if you are in-laws, is be there to support your children-in-law, but know when to come and go very quietly without anybody noticing.